Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. So happy that you're here. Tonight's featured products will be the All About Autumn Suite. We'll be using the Autumn Leaves Bundle, which is a stamp and die set. The Autumn Leaves stamp set is inspired by $1 Million Sales Achiever, Amy Conders. And so we'll be using that. We will also be using the All About Autumn Designer Series paper and the copper and natural ribbon trim combo pack. And then there are some adhesive back speckled dots we'll also be using. So let's go ahead and see who's on. And then we can take a look at any comments. See what's coming on here. Okay, I'm looking here to see if we can find me. Sometimes Facebook does not make that easy. Not what I want, but okay, let's see if we can get there. All right, let me turn the sound off so we don't get double. Okay, there we are. Okay, hello Jennifer. Hello Cynthia. Thank you for joining me today. So happy that you could be here. So I've got two projects for you. We're going to start with a 3D project. And then we're going to try to quickly make a second card, but this first one could take a while because we're going to learn a new technique, or I'm going to show you a new technique. So let's go ahead and get started. Take those out of the way for the moment. Bring in our supplies. Okay. So we're going to start with a piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock for the box, and this is 5.5 by 8.5. It's a half a sheet of cardstock, and then we need some watercolor paper. This is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and we need a small piece of the copper oxide designer series paper. Let me see if I can find that really quickly. Let's take in the right section here. I thought I had a small piece out, but maybe not. Maybe I haven't moved it. There we are. Sorry about that. So I've got a small piece of the copper, the oxide copper. This is also part of that suite. You get 2 sheets of the Pretty Peacock in copper, and then 2 sheets of just the copper. And we're going to be using just a small piece of that today. And we've got some brushed metallic dots. And let's go ahead and get to our technique. I need to set all of these things aside so I don't get yuck on them. Okay. So let's bring in a silicone mat. I have a big silicone mat that I've had for years. You could get away with this one, but I'm going to use this one because it gives me more room to work. Okay, so then we're going to take some crushed curry ink, Pretty Peacock, Moody Mauve, Cajun Craze, and Pumpkin Pie. So we're going to start with crushed curry, move to the Pumpkin Pie, Cajun Craze, Moody Mauve, and then Pretty Peacock. So I'm going to set these right here in a stack. I want to wipe this off. For this technique, you'll need to have some paper towel on hand. And you might want some baby wipes. Well, you will want baby wipes. So, and I've got those here too. Okay, so we're going to start with the crushed curry, and I'm just going to take the crushed curry ink pad, and I'm just going to dot this down in some spots, like so. And I'm going to move to my pumpkin pie. I'm starting with my lighter color and trying to move to the dark. Okay. Bring in some Cajun craze. And a little less of the Cajun craze. Let's put some of that down here. I don't want a lot. I'm going to take some Moody Mauve. Add some of this in here, like so. And then finally I'm going to take some Pretty Peacock. And because I moved from light to dark, if I get a little bit of the lighter color on, it's not going to matter. Okay, so there we go. Now we can set these aside. I'm going to take a little spritzer bottle. You can buy these in a 2-pack. Fairly inexpensive, $3–4. And I've just got some tap water in here. Okay, and I'm just going to take and I'm going to spritz this. Don't want it to get too wet, but I do want my water to move a little. Then I'm going to spritz my watercolor, my Fluid 100 watercolor paper, just a little bit. I just want it to be moist. I don't want a ton of water on it. And we'll bring this back in. And then I'm just going to take this and dab. Okay. And dab. And dab. Dab, and keep moving it until I've got all my colors and I don't have a bunch of white space. And I've got space right there in the middle and a space right here at the edge. Okay, now I'm looking pretty good, I think. Now I'm going to move this aside, and I'm going to take another paper towel because I'm done with this. I'm going to just wipe this up so I don't make a total mess. Your silicone mat cleans right up. And then I'm going to grab a baby wipe and go ahead and clean the rest of that ink off of there. And at the same time, then, ink that I got on my fingers, I can wipe up too. Okay, so that's what we have. All right, let's move this out of the way. So we're done with that for now. We're going to bring this back in. And you can just let that dry. We don't have time for that. So I'm going to take my heat tool. I'm going to get that warm. And then I'm just going to heat that up. And my cord is not, there it goes. Just had to move that so my cord would stretch. Sorry about the noise. Okay. Okay, and that's good. Okay. So now you can see that we have this piece of watercolor paper that has all different colors in it. So for this then, we're going to bring in our autumn leaves dies. And we're going to cut some leaves out of here. And the one thing about these autumn leaves dies is you get 2 maple leaves and you get 2 oak leaves with these dies. But those oak leaves and maple leaves both go in the opposite directions. So you want to be cognizant of that. And we're just going to take some, and then you get 2 of these little leaves, whatever they are, okay? So then we're going to take and grab our mini cut and emboss machine. And we are going to run those through. Our machine. So we're going to get plate 1 and 2. And hopefully, yep, this fits. 3.5 inches will fit on here just perfect. We're going to take this. I'm going to run those through, making sure they don't touch. Put number 2 plate on top, and we're going to roll this through the machine. Okay. And then you're going to repeat that process, although you don't need more than 3 leaves for each of the projects here, but I do have a project to show you later that you can use the same technique on, and I have another card to show you to make. Okay, so then we're going to take that piece of oxidized copper while we have this, and we're going to run through. I don't know which way my leaves will need to go, so I'm going to run through 2 of the oak and 2 of the maple. And cut those out of the oxidized copper. And then I will have what I need. Okay, so that is that. And set the machine aside. Got our pieces. All right. Set those. Pop these out of here, and then we'll have all the pieces that we need. Oh, no, we won't. We still have a sentiment piece to cut. I might have already done that, though. Hopefully I have. So we'll be done with the cutting. Okay. So let's go ahead and pop these back on our magnet sheet so they don't get lost. And then we can move forward here. Because of course we don't want our pieces to come up missing. That would be terrible. Alright, so let's set these aside because we're all done with those for now. Okay. And then you'll have this piece left. Okay, so here's what we have for leaves. I should probably have cut a little bit more color here, but we're going to go with these because this is what we have. I already have some others that I can use too, so we'll figure out which ones we're going to use. Now let's go ahead and get started on our box. get the scoring tool. I had the granddaughters in here today, so some of my stuff isn't quite where it should be. Okay, so let's bring this in. And we're going to score on the 8.5 inch side first. We're going to score at 1, 2, 4 3/4, and 5 3/4. And then we're going to rotate this, and we're going to score at 1/2 and 1.5 inch from each end, or you can make it easier on yourself and score at 4 and 5 on each end, which is the same as 1/2 and 1.5. Just makes it so that I'm not fighting the edge of my scoring tool to make those shallow scores. Okay, so we'll go ahead and fold and burnish on all of our score lines. Ah, thanks, Cher. Hello. It is a cool, easy technique. Usually I don't try to do the techniques that are a little bit messy because I don't like the messy, but I really liked this. Super simple. You can do it, of course, with any color combination. Just make sure that you start with your lightest colors and work to the darkest. You will get a different result every time. Okay, so I'm going to bring in our box template here so you can see where I'm cutting. And this part here that has the tall section is the box front flap. So we're going to start here with our trimming. And we're going to cut on these 2 inner score lines clear down to this second score line up. Okay? And we're just going to cut right to the, I'm cutting to the left of the score line on the right hand side, so that I'm along the big rectangle, and I'll do the same thing over here, but I'll cut to the right of the score line so that I'm still cutting the score line off of the large rectangle. I'm going to cut up to the second score line here. Okay. And then I'm going to remove these 2 sections here. And then I'm going to cut up this outside score line to the score line here and cut off that tiny little rectangle. Okay, and that leaves us with a tab. We're going to angle the corners of the tab, and then we're going to repeat that over here. So I'm going to cut off these 2 sections, cut up on this tab, and cut out the small rectangle. Angle cut those tabs, and I'm going to move that out of the way. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. All right. So then we're going to flip this to the other end, and we are going to cut up. Let's see, let's get this in the right direction here. Well, let's do this the easier way for myself. I'm going to take and cut these tabs here. So I'm going to cut on this first score line that's left here now to the second score line here. And I'm going to make this a tab. And I'm going to do the same thing on the next score line. Okay. Then I'm going to remove these 2 tabs on the bottom, or those 2 sections. And finally, I'm going to remove this outside rectangle so that this will form a tab, and then I can angle cut my tabs. These are my glue tabs, okay? And then I'm going to repeat that over here. So I'm going to go up to the second score line here, and I'm going to cut up to the second score line here. And then I'm going to move to the next score line to the right, and I'm going to repeat that. Now I'm going to cut off these two bottom sections right here. And finally, I'm going to remove this outside rectangle and angle cut my tabs on both sides. Okay, so now our piece looks like our template, other than we need to corner round our large rectangular corners here at the top. Okay, now the way this is going to work is this is going to fold into here like so, and then this is going to fold up. Okay, so we're going to put some adhesive on these two tabs on the outside. I'm going to flip that over to do that. You could do it just by folding them in, but I find it easier if I flip it over. Now let's find the beginning of my tear tape here. I'm going to use tear tape for this. You could use whatever strong adhesive you prefer. I'm just going to put 2 strips of tear and tape on both of those tabs. And then I'm going to flip this back, and when this comes together, these are going to form the front flaps of the box, and I'm going to glue this piece right here to those tabs. So I'm going to put tear and tape along this edge on the inside, right along the edge, and then we're going to glue our box together here. Okay, that's all the adhesive that you need. So let's remove the tear and tape off of these tabs. Here's that template. Okay, so we're going to form the box corners here, like so. The cut edge to the scored edge. Form that corner, and then burnish so that that tear and tape is stuck. Okay, and then we're going to remove the tear and tape from the box flap here. I'm going to lay that down. It'll make it easier for me to get under there. I know it makes it harder for you to see what I'm doing, but I've got to get under that wax paper. Okay, so now I've got my adhesive exposed, and now I'm going to take, again, my cut edge to my folded scored edge. And then I'm going to give that a good press. Then I'm going to flip this down and go on the inside with my bone folder on those edges and burnish those down. Okay, and so there is our box. So it'll go just like this. When it's finished, we'll put some Velcro there, and we'll have a little box that will hold a treat. Okay? So let's get us a Velcro dot. Where did I put those? Where did I put those? Well, I had like three little ones, just single ones stuck out here. Oh, there they are in the little tray. Right here. So these are the ones that I use. Velcro, 3/8 inch thin clear fasteners, 56 circles. You can oftentimes pick these up at Joann's, or you can order them in a 6-pack off of Amazon, which is what I do. And then I'm going to take my Velcro dot and I'm going to stick it up here at the top in the center, or near the center, as near the center as I can get it. And I'm going to give that a good press. And then I'm going to pull this off. And that can be a little tricky. You can take your pick tool, push that down. You want to keep those pieces together. And then take your time here and line this up. And then press. And then gently lift. And then I like to go back and burnish. And this one's a little hard to burnish, so you just have to stick it in there good with your fingers. Okay, so that is the basics of our box. Now let's go ahead and decorate it. Get a few of these garbage pieces out of the way so they're not here, and I don't want to lose my Velcro. All right, so now we should have a piece of, what did I do with my thing? Oh, I didn't cut it apparently. All right, hang on. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. That's why. Okay, so you'll need a piece of designer series paper, and for this one you could use the All About Autumn designer series paper, which is what I used on this one. That's the wood grain. Or you can use the inked botanicals, which is what I used on this one. So we're going to go ahead and use the inked botanicals. And you need a piece of designer series paper that is 2 5/8 by 2 3/8, and that needs to be in the portrait orientation, which means that your 2 3/8 inch is going to be your narrow portion. So 3/8 is the line right between the 1/4 and 1/2, the one in the middle. That'll give you 2 3/8. And then you need 2 5/8, and that's going to be the longer mark between 2 1/2 and 3 3/4. So we're going to cut that. Now you could decorate the top, the sides, but I did not. I'm just putting this one on, and then because this is going on the top here, we need to round these corners, the bottom 2 corners. So we're just going to take our corner rounder and try to do a better job than I just did. And put that in, and then we'll take some adhesive. You could use the back side of this paper as well. And then I'm just going to take this and lay it down like so. Add that on like that. And then we're going to take our leaves that we did, And it looks like I did not cut myself a crushed curry. Gosh darn it. Sorry, you guys. We need the deckled circles. Thought I had this all together. Okay, so we need a piece of crushed curry cardstock. Let's grab that. Hopefully I've got a piece big enough here I can use. Yep, right there. Bring back in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Again, plate 1 and 2. If your plate's a little warped when you stick it up, just turn it over. It'll lay flat the other direction. And we're going to run this through. Now this is I call this die number 11. I started with the largest circle and counted down. So this is the 11th one from the largest, or the 4th one from the smallest. Okay, so we've got those. These will be in the upcoming September to December mini catalog, which we'll release next week on Tuesday. So we've got, oh, this isn't going to work on this. What was I thinking? I'm going to have to, let's go with a Very Vanilla. I should have used a different, we're going to do Very Vanilla. I'm not going to like that. So let's find us a piece of Very Vanilla. That's going to bug me. Too much crushed curry. Oh, barely. Barely. Barely fitting. Okay. Again, I apologize for not having this together. I should have had those pieces cut. Okay, let's try this. And then we're going to take some wild wheat ink. Which I'm pretty sure oh, did I move that to the other? Yep, I did. Wild wheat ink. And from the Layering Leaves stamp set, which is Rachel Tessman's $1 Million Inspired Stamp Set, I'm going to use this little speckled stamp here. Okay, let's get a scrap piece of paper. I'm going to use Wild Wheat ink. It's one of our new end colors. I'm going to take this speckle and I am just going to put some speckles on that just to give it a little character. And let me put that back there. And then we are going to take our leaves that we cut here, and we're going to play with these a little bit, see what we like. I'm going to look at something like this, and maybe this, and then let's find another leaf. Okay. Let's look. I've got some ones that I did yesterday using the same technique. Let's see if we like this one better. Yeah, I think I do. So we're going to go with that. So we will take this. I'm going to glue this down. this up here, like so. And then we'll glue this down. And I'm gluing these all down flat, because I need to pop up my sentiment. And of course, apparently I didn't cut that piece either. Gosh darn it. Getting to see a lot of die cutting today. Okay, so that's those pieces. Now let's set all that aside and grab another piece of Very Vanilla. Oh, actually this time I might want to use crushed curry. I did have one of those cut. I know I did. Or maybe we'll use... Okay, let's go with this. And we are going to, because I'm using this darker color, I'm going to bring in copper clay, which kind of looks like this. So let's go ahead and die cut our tag. And that comes from the Cracker and Treat Box dies. I'm just going to cut this in crushed curry real quick. Close up that glue. Well, I guess not. All right. So we've got that. I should have done this more efficiently. Love this little mini cut and emboss machine. It makes it so nice to be able to just pop up on your desk and cut those things out quickly. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's take that copper clay, and we're using For You. And this actually comes from Rustic Crate. I showed this last week a little bit. So we've got that, and that will fit. I needed a very small sentiment. There are lovely sentiments in the autumn leaves, but they're just not the size I needed for this tag. So we're just going to take this in the copper clay and put that down. And then we'll grab a Stampin' Dimensional. And I'm going to put this up toward the top here. Okay, because we're going to take this and we're going to pop this up. This is a 3D project, so we can get away with double layers. Because we're not going to be mailing it. And I don't need to worry about postage. Okay, so let's take this and pop this up here, like so. And then we're going to, before I go any further, I want to put my bow on here. It's just easier for me. So I'm going to take some of that trim. This is the natural trim that comes in that combo pack. And I cut the very edge strip off here, which looks like this when you cut it off. And you can tie a bow with it. But when you do that, then you can pull these little threads. Okay, we're going to pull those. I want 3 of them. So I'm just going to pull those out. They come out real easy. Okay, so we've got that. And then we're going to just tie a little bow. So I'm going to bring in my bow jig because I find it easier to use a bow jig on these tiny bows. You might be better than I am at the tiny bows with the regular tying, but I'm going to I've wrapped it around 3 times, and I'm going to go over and then under, and then I'm going to bring the bottom up over the top and through the loop, and then I'm going to pull that taut. Okay? And then I'm going to just give that a little trim. Take a glue dot. Let's move that out of the way. Let's grab ourselves a glue dot. And put that down. And then I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm just going to take my glue dot and put it right up to the edge of the center of that. And then I'm going to press this onto my tag, bring my box back in, take off my wax paper backing from my dimensional, and I'm going to add this on right here. And there is our finished box. Now, I've taken a 1/4 cup of Kirkland trail mix, and I put it into just a Winco square snack bag, and I'm going to fold that up, and I'm going to put this in my box. And if I got enough air out of my bag, this should fit perfectly. It doesn't look like I got enough air out. So I take and fold it up like this, bring all my candies down here, and roll this up, and then close it to get the air out. And then this should all fit. Okay, and then I can just stuff this in my box. All right. So now I've got a 1/4 cup of the trail mix, and I've got a beautiful box. Okay, so here are the different boxes that I've made using that same technique. And as you can tell, all of the leaves are different. You're going to get a different result every time you do it, but I think the technique is really worth it, and you get some really cool looking leaves that way. Oh, hi Lynette. Okay, so let's clean this up a bit, and we'll move on to the next card. Let me get those out of the way. I don't want to lose all my leaves. And that didn't have a lot of stamping, but this sentiment here, autumn teaches us that change can be beautiful, comes from the autumn leaves. All right, so let's set those aside and move on to project number 2, which hopefully I've got together a little bit better than this one. Okay. All right, switching boxes. Okay, so for this project, we're going to make a fun fold card, which uses almost a full sheet of 6x6 paper from the All About Autumn Suite. This is one of those paper stacks that has photorealistic on one side. You get 4 of each. I've split a pack with my friend. So you've got photorealistic, and then you've got, on the other side, you have these beautiful copper foils. Okay. So this is a beautiful pack of paper. But what do you do with a piece that's so pretty you don't want to cut it? Okay. I've showed this technique once before, but we're going to make a card with the autumn leaves using this. So we're going to start with a piece of Cajun Craze cardstock. This is 5.5 by 8.5, and I've scored it at 1.5 and 4 1/4. Okay, so we're going to fold that in the center at the 4 1/4. Try not to bump you guys. My bone folder crawled underneath my camera stand, and I didn't want to bump the camera. Okay, so we've got that. So we're gonna fold that down, and then at the 1.5 inch score, we're gonna fold it back. Okay, so that it looks like this. All right. Then I've taken a piece of the Designer Series paper, and I cut 3/4 of an inch off the top of a 6 by 6, and then I cut it down. Okay, so I took a 5 1/4 inch by 6 inch piece, and then I cut the first one at 2 3/4, the second piece at 2 inches, so that they stay in order like this. And then the third piece is 1 1/4 inches, so that this can go like this. Okay, so they're all, wait a minute, it goes this way. I got them out of order. So you need to cut 2 3/4, then 1 1/4, and that will leave you with a 2 inch piece. Okay, so 2 3/4, 1 1/4, you're left with the 2 inches, and that's how we need to keep them in order. Okay, now I've also taken a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock, and I've cut that Very Vanilla at 2 3/4 by 5 1/4, and I ran it through the Distressed Tile 3D embossing folder, and this is what I've gotten. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go ahead and start putting our pieces together. We're gonna put the 2 3/4, that's looking a little wide. Maybe I went too wide. Hang on. Let's look, because that's not looking 2 3/4. Well, it is, but oh, this needs to be 2 1/2. Not 2 3/4, 2 1/2. So no worries. We just cut that down to 2 1/2. Okay, again, 2 1/2 by 5 1/4 on the Very Vanilla. All right, and we're gonna glue this to the inside, or the outside of our piece. Now this is Tombow glue. I'm using a glue thing from My Sweet Petunia that is not supposed to clog and makes squeezing the glue out easier. And I put Tombow glue in the empty bottle that it comes with. Okay, so we've got that piece there. Now we're going to take our 2 3/4 inch piece of our Designer Series paper, and this we're going to glue here. Okay, we're going to center that up, but we're not going to glue on the right hand side of this because it'll glue our card closed. So we need to make sure that we only glue on this half on the back. So I'm going to flip this over, And I'm going to glue on this half on the right because I'm on the reverse. Oh, and I just ran out of glue. I ran out of adhesive. Wouldn't you know it? Okay. So let's go ahead and I'll finish with some liquid glue. It's fine. And then I'll fill that in a minute. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to lay this down here, line it up so that I've got an even border, and then I'm going to press that down. Okay, now let me quickly grab a refill for my Stampin' Seal here. Pop that out of there. We line up these three holes with these 3 pegs. Before we do that, we make sure we don't have any sticky glue on the inside edge there. If we do, we can just pick it off and remove it. It comes off easily. And then we just pop this back in. Okay, and now we're ready to roll again. Okay, so that's down. Now we're going to take our 1 1/4 inch piece, and we're going to put this right here. Okay, and that way when we open up our card, these pieces are going to be cohesive. Okay, so we want to put this over to the score line here. And come on. All right. Make sure we line those up. Trying to make sure that my tops and bottoms are fairly even. Okay, and then I'm going to take my 2 inch piece, and that's going to go here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that. I'm not breaking my tape properly. There we go. And again, we're going to line this up next to that score line here. Okay, so now you can see our seam, the full 6 inches. And then for our inside piece, this piece is 2 inches by 5 1/4, and I took the 2 leaves from the autumn leaves, this one here, and I stamped those in crushed curry, and then I took the detailed vein part and I stamped those in wild wheat. Okay, and we're going to add this to the inside, but we are going to add this here. And we're going to lay this down gently, and then we're going to close this up and make sure that it doesn't stick out, but that it's straight. Okay, when we fold it, and then we're just going to press that down. Okay, so there is the inside of our card completed. Now we just need to decorate the outside of our card. Okay, so here we need a piece of Very Vanilla. I had a piece sitting here. I'm not sure where that went to. I'm just going to cut us. Oh, there it is right there. Hang on. Pretty sure this is it right here. Nope, that's not big enough. Okay, well, it's all right. Let's cut a piece. Make it work. Okay. And then I'm going to cut this at 3.5 because that's what will fit through the mini. And we are going to take our Cajun Craze ink and the large leaf. I need a scrap piece of paper. And Cajun Craze. Or no, sorry, this one I used copper clay. I didn't use Cajun Craze, I used copper clay. All right, let's get rid of all this stuff I don't need. All right, and we're gonna ink up this large autumn leaf. And I'm just gonna make sure, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna grab my Stampin' Pierce mat. And give this a press. Okay, and then I would use my dies and cut this out. And while I'm cutting out things, I'm going to take a piece of Cajun Craze and cut out the die that does this piece here. Where did I put my die? Right here. So it's this die here, and I cut that from Cajun Craze. All right. And I'm also cutting a crushed curry, maple leaf, and a moody mauve oak leaf. Okay. Now while you're doing your stamping, go ahead and stamp your envelope. And what I did was I used the maple leaf, the large one, and then I stamped the large vein over the top. So copper clay and Cajun Craze. And then I did the crushed curry and wild wheat for the flap. So we've got that. Okay, and then we also need to stamp our sentiment. Okay, so we've got all those pieces. Now we're going to take this and we are going to stamp the autumn leaves sentiment. And we're going to use early espresso. Okay. So this says autumn teaches us that change can be beautiful. And I'm just going to stamp this right in the center of this die cut. And I'm going to move that so that I have a more of a contrast. Okay. So there's our sentiment, early espresso. And here are our leaves. And what did I do with the large leaf I had cut out? Oh my goodness, I know it was here and it was cut because I saw it. Ugh. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got our large leaf, and we're just going to take and grab a silicone mat to protect my work surface. And then I'm going to take my liquid glue. You could use adhesive sheets on the back of your cardstock when you cut this. I'm just going to put a few little dots of glue. You don't need a lot. I love this new little glue tool because I can really control how much glue comes out. Okay. Going to lay this up here like so. Try and line that up in the middle there. This isn't going to line up perfectly to the stamped image, and that's okay. Just gives it a little bit of added texture. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and add all of this to our card front. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to go this direction with my leaf, and I'm going to put this down flat. Use my Stampin' Seal for that. And I put this up a little bit because I wanted it to kind of look like the leaf had fallen into the trail when I opened it. Okay. But I need to make sure that I don't go outside of the edge of my card. So I'm just going to put that down. Okay. And then we're going to take some more of that trim. And we're going to do a treatment on our sentiment. Grab a couple more pieces of that. Here that I did really want. There we go. Okay. So you can have a piece of this trim go an awfully long way. So we're going to take those, stack them up here, and then I'm going to take my sentiment piece and I'm going to put a little bit of Stampin' Seal on the back. I want this to go this direction, so I'm going to stick that into my adhesive. And then I'm going to loop that, stick it back into the adhesive, bring it around, loop it again, stick it back into the adhesive, and I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to trim this up. Okay, so there's that, and I could use that for another treatment, or I can toss it. I'm going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to pay attention to where I'm putting these, because we're going to put this down so that it goes off a bit here. So I can go to here with my dimensionals and make that work. And so I'm capturing those threads with my Stampin' Dimensionals. And then I'm going to put these down. And I've left that top open a bit. This down here like this. Making sure that my dimensionals are not sticking out. And then I'm going to take my maple leaf. I'm going to tuck that under here. Oh, let's tuck this one first. Okay, so let's tuck this one. I'll lift up my thread because I really want that to go under my thread. Put that there like that. And then this will go here like this. Okay. And finally, I'm going to take our adhesive back speckled dots from that suite. And I'll take your pick tool, and I'm going to use the Moody Mauve, I'm going to stick one over here and a large one over here. These come in small, medium, and large. So I'm trying to use all three sizes here. Okay. And there you have it. There is our second project for tonight. I hope you liked those. And I have one more that I'd like to show you that I made with this. And this is a card that I made using that same watercolor technique that I showed you with the silicone pad. This one I used Berry Burst, Granny Apple Green, Crushed Curry, Cherry Cobbler, and Daffodil Delight, although you can't see, or no, I didn't use the Crushed Curry, I used the Daffodil Delight. But anyway, that's just to show you how you can get so much different colors on your leaves depending on your color combination, how you lay it out, and how it sprays. And then there's the inside. Okay? So there are the projects for this evening. I hope you enjoyed that. And thank you for joining me, and thank you for all the wonderful comments, your attention. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, whether it's live or on the replay. And hey, just so everybody knows, come the week of September, not next week, but the following week, whatever that is, September 11, somewhere in there, ballet begins again, and Abby's schedule has changed again this year. So I will be moving my Facebook Live from Wednesday night back to Tuesday night because Abby has ballet on Wednesdays, and I will be running her to ballet in the evening rather than having time to do a Facebook Live. So we'll just be switching week after next to Tuesday night at the same time, and I will see you then. All right? Good night, everybody.